This video is sponsored by Knuckles0x, Crimson Manifesto, and Jopi. We resume in the past, on the morning Bardock left Gohan's house, with the old man giving Bardock's family his message over breakfast. Being so young, Kakarot is more confused than anything, wondering why Papa had to go away, while in contrast, Raditz calls it good riddance, snipping that his father has fallen so far as to be a washed-up old booze bag who they are better off without. Gine alone seems to understand her mate's need to do this, and so simply expresses a wish that he come back safe, and hopefully, healed of the malady in his mind that has made him so unlike himself these last few months. Following this, time passes, with days becoming weeks and even months with no word from Bardock. Though even in the warrior's absence, the world cannot stop, with the family even celebrating Kakarot's 4th birthday and Raditz's 8th. Having developed a deep trusting bond reminiscent of the father and daughter they claim to be, Gohan and Gine, or Lee as he starts to nickname her, use these occasions to learn more about each other's respective culture, with Gine explaining more about how having mates in sane society worked, and how Bardock didn't propose so much as prove himself as worthy of being her partner, not only because of his strength, but also by standing by her when there were literal squadrons of stronger women interested in him. While in turn, Gohan explains concepts like anniversaries, and why the passage of time and aging are celebrated by humans, as well as how Earthling mirrors differs from the Saiyan way of doing things. It's an intriguing concept, and the old man's perception of it's fairly nuanced, since he's speaking with an adult instead of a toddler. Meanwhile, the sibling rivalry between Kakarot and Raditz continues to heat up, as they play and spar together, the dynamic resembling that of Goten and Trunks from canon, with Raditz being the more experienced and devious one, inadvertently taking more after Bardock, while Kakarot is good-natured and earnest like their mother. Thanks to all their sparring, they've begun to train even when Grandpa is too tired or sore to join them, meaning less supervision once again for the troublemakers. And so, there comes a day when Raditz finally deems the gains Kakarot has made over the years worthy of forcing him to resort to flight, to avoid the rock-paper-scissors combo, one of the few raw advantages he still has over his baby bro, even if he would never actually tell him how narrow the gap in between their power is starting to become. Instead, he goads Kakarot for being unable to fly, which in turn causes the younger boy to retaliate with something he surely can do, fling a sloppily made ball of ki. One Raditz eagerly decides to block with a blast of his own, briefly creating a beam struggle with the orbs, before the elder brother exerts his greater strength and knowledge to send both opposing orbs of ki flying back at his little brother, while cackling mischievously, since the runt's unaware of how to sustain his end of the clash. Thankfully, Gine had chosen this exact moment to fly over and call her boys home for lunch, allowing her to pull the pair out of harm's way at the last second, as the blast detonates with enough energy to leave a crater that might have been Kakarot's grave, and a few missing limbs for Raditz had she not intervened. Giving Raditz the mom glare, Gine scolds her eldest, reminding him how dangerous ki attacks are, since it's not like they have healing chambers on this planet, and admonishing how he's been acting out and being reckless since Bardock left. She's had more than enough of it. However, being a fair woman, she's also willing to hear the bratty boy out when inevitably he crafts excuses, and so holds her tongue while maintaining that disappointed scowl, as he tries to explain that he was only messing around. And besides, Kakarot's been getting strong as of late, since he practices with Grandpa a lot more than he does, while Raditz himself spends most of his time on guard duty. The mention of guard duty does cause Gine to soften a little, as it's something Raditz had begun imposing on himself ever since his father left, with the Sohn matriarch suspecting that on some subconscious level, it is Raditz's attempt to be closer to his absent father by playing pretend as him. Unfortunately, in his unconscious emulation of his father, he had also been more inconsiderate lately, occasionally lazing around when not on guard duty, and swiping large portions of the dried and pickled meat she's been making, even polishing off all 6 pieces of the pickled 5-horn T-Rex tail before she even tried any. Gine had really been looking forward to that treat, ever since she hunted the massive beast and decided to spare him as such a rare ingredient, only for Raditz to just wolf him down like they were convenience store snacks, and then throw the jar aside. Snack-based grievances aside, Gine retorts that even if Kakarot is getting stronger, Raditz still needs to be responsible in training with his younger brother. He only has the one after all. What would he have done had Kakarot or Grandpa gotten hurt, or worse? Oh, and when Raditz sputters for another excuse, wildly gesticulating at the vague concept of the Dragon Balls, his mom's glare only intensifies, as she sees that they don't even know if the legend is true. Bardock may well be on a wild space goose chase, and even if those wish orbs can restore life, that's no excuse. However, in an echo of his father, Raditz waves his mom's concerns off, telling her to cram the nagging, and suddenly, all of Mt Paozu goes completely silent, as if sensing the presence of his queen's wrath. While at the proverbial ground zero, Raditz realizes he's royally fucked up, seeing a brief look of pure rage on Gine's face that is gone an instant later, replaced with a poisonously sweet smile as Gine simply chirps, "Okay." Deciding it's high time Raditz received an attitude adjustment, Gine turns to Kakarot, squatting down to be on his level and patting his head, asking if he'd like to train with his mom before the next time he spars with Raditz. Wiping some of the tears that had welled up at being taunted by and overpowered by his big brother for the millionth time, Kakarot's attitude does a 180, with him eagerly accepting the offer with a nod, since Gine has never really directly trained with either of the boys. Delighted, Gine picks him up with a cheer, declaring that with his mama's training and a proper nutrition regimen, he'll be able to send both his mean old dad and brother flying in no time, leaving Raditz's jaw dropping as the two depart. Truthfully, Raditz is somewhat scared of this development, since his mom had gotten a good bit stronger by joining Grandpa and Kakarot for morning exercises and hunting monsters on the daily for both sport and groceries, to the point that she could still very much back her own discipline without Bardock's help anymore, even if she doesn't like to, meaning that if she trains up Kakarot seriously, he might actually be able to beat him. And not wanting to face such a humiliation, the long-haired youth turns to Grandpa Gohan for help, not wanting to go against Gine here. Gohan is initially opposed, finding his own excuses not to compete against the Huntress, but Raditz's pitiful puppy dog eyes begin to wear him down, with him even specifying there probably isn't even all that much he can teach the whippersnapper at this point. It's coming time he'll be needing a real master if he truly wants to grow as a martial artist. Dismissively, Raditz insists they don't have time for that. Plus, he's seen firsthand how a weakling like Grandpa was able to toughen up an even weaker weakling like Kakarot, so he should be able to do wonders with someone as strong as him. Vein bulging on his head at his grandson's choice of word, Gohan admonishes that this kind of hard-headedness is exactly why his mom's training Goku to whoop him for her, though all the same, he acquiesces. But in return, Raditz has to teach him that nifty flying trick. Grinning confidently, Raditz readily agrees to this, and so the two sets of masters and students commit to their training for a full afternoon, returning to the house at the same time and causing a slightly awkward standoff. Accepting his lot, Grandpa asks Raditz to go back down to the river and fish them up something to eat for dinner, but Gine waves this aside, stating she's not petty enough to make he or Raditz go hungry, starting up a family meal as if all is casual, while once again affirming she's cooking to make sure Kakarot gets the proper nutrition he needs to win their little bet. But if Gohan taught Raditz anything today, it's to respect his mom and baby brother a bit more, with him making an effort to be less like his lateral father and staying quiet in moments like these when he has nothing nice to say. Though Gohan can see the boy has a long way to go and can't be completely reformed in just one day. Following this, the family fall into a comfortable rhythm for about a month, with Gohan doing his best to mentor Raditz in his loose remembrance of the Turtle School style, along with some of his own custom moves, making sure he learns to play rock, paper, scissors as well, to neutralize the trick Goku used which had exploited Raditz's hyper-focused and one-track mind. In turn, the fuzzball of a boy tries to teach the old man how to kinda stand on his own power, then just keep doing that super fast when you want to really zoom around, with Gohan quickly recognizing that a teaching career is not in Raditz's future. On the other side of the mountain, Gine is simply putting her little Goku, as she's come to call him when not being serious or stern, through the same kind of toughening up Bardock and Celebi tried to give her back when she made a go at being a warrior, with this mostly consisting of foraging and survival for his breakfast, lunch, and any snacks in between. Don't judge her, she just doesn't have the heart to be as strict as Bardock had been. Imagine forcing her baby to make his own supper as well, so she insists on making those meals more well-balanced and well-portioned to avoid any potty issues, as it were. Besides, having joined their mom on a few hunts by now, both boys are already far more proficient when it comes to the culinary arts than their canon counterparts, easily able to locate and procure both big and small ingredients, as well as do some of the basic acts of meal preparation itself. It's certainly not a passion for either, sadly, but they can at least do better than blast animals and grimace through gnawing on their charred remains, the way she'd seen Pamukin and Totepo do a few times when desperate for provisions. So even if she were strict, it shouldn't faze the boy. However, just like Bardock and Celebi's training, anytime he wasn't eating or resting, the mother-son duo would engage in battles meant more so to hone their strength or trigger Zenkai boosts and actually harm one another, or spars as Grandpa Gohan called them, when referring to the matchup between her boys. About this time, as a result of her copying Gohan's exercise routine and martial arts and a more active and self-sufficient lifestyle, becoming the Mt Paozu matriarch, Gine's power level has managed to successfully overtake Raditz's over the year, with her status as a full-grown adult allowing her the advantage of slightly better gains. I'd currently go ahead and full-on place her at about a 732, while Raditz has impressively climbed up to 626 in the year from a bit of exercise and growth he got from learning earth and martial arts, especially since he was kind of lazy, and considering he has yet to be defeated or even injured critically since his spat with Bardock. Kakarot, however, is the most unlike his canon counterpart at this time, thanks solely to having the measuring stick of his big brother already. When he first arrived on the planet, his power level was a mere 2. And I think it could be argued his first Uzaru transformation could have given him the early Zenkai, along with the various weapons he's taken from Raditz over the year, resulting in his power increasing to around 234. As for Grandpa Gohan, thanks to having 2 rowdy grandkids to play with, he has actually managed to shake off the cobwebs and gotten back into shape in his old age. While he certainly isn't a planet buster by any means, he at least wouldn't be able to be squished by a fresh to the planet Uzaru Kakarot anymore. However, what he lacks in raw power, he makes up for with a vastly superior grasp of the martial arts, which sadly has since become a bit too personal and self-expressive for him to teach perfectly, since he's kinda been evolving it his whole life, even now as he's supposedly old and frail. As such, Kakarot is still at a now even starker disadvantage in raw power, with Gine holding back enough not to break anything, but still putting resolve and intent to her blows, enough to make sure she isn't wasting Goku's time with their shared goal to close the gap between the youngest sibling and Raditz as much as possible for their next match. As the month ends and Grandpa Gohan notes his new year, wondering if Bardock will return to get in touch soon at the night's dinner, Kakarot surprises Raditz, speaking well enough to challenge him properly for the first time, suspecting Gine may have worked with him on his speech as well. Truthfully, Raditz feels some brotherly pride in this, but also, his Saiyan pride will not allow him to turn this challenge down, with the duo agreeing to go at it full force after breakfast tomorrow morning. And so finishing up dinner, and waking up bright and early to catch breakfast together. Two boys return to their preferred sparring location, where Grandpa and Gine can actually watch, with the old man just as eagerly wanting to ref the match as any other. As they wait for the signal to start, Raditz takes the cool stance he's been developing based heavily on what he's learned from Grandpa, while in contrast, Kakarot drops to all fours like a feral child, his tail raising at attention in preparation for battle, as he shakes it threateningly, like some of the beasts on the mountain do as an intimidation tactic. Undaunted, Raditz lunges at this obvious chink in Kakarot's armor, more than happy to slam his little brother around to remind him he's still gotten beat, especially if he's stupidly gonna flaunt his biggest weakness. However, this is the feint Gine and Kakarot cooked up based on their knowledge of Raditz, with the younger boy just as quickly tucking the tail around his waist, while his older brother soars over him, with Kakarot quickly spinning to plant both hands on the ground in a handstand, and both feet in his big brother's chest for a donkey kick, sending him airborne with a great deal more force than any blow he's ever landed before. Surprised by the force behind this kick, Raditz rights himself in midair, using his flight advantage again, along with the trick he and Grandpa developed as an alternative to Ki Blast by sending shockwaves of air pressure down to Kakarot, just using the force of his punches and kicks, in hopes this will keep his mother happy, while also putting distance between himself and the twerp. These prove highly effective, considering they are functionally invisible, making them even harder to dodge on foot than a Ki Blast is. Though with a smile, Gine cheers Goku on, telling Raditz not to go too easy on the little, just cause she couldn't teach him to fly in under a month. His suspicions of remaining supremacy confirmed. This is a claim which the boy has to assume is a joke, right up until Kakarot begins forming a much more honed and practiced blast than last time they sparred. In fact, Gohan recognized the attack, cheering out, "By Jove, the boy has learned the Kamehameha!" While Gine proudly boasts she really liked it, so she's been working on copying it, and even managed to teach it to her son once she got the hang of it. Then he figured out a solution to his problem on his own. However, as Raditz moves to retreat and counter the long-range attack, he's caught off guard when Kakarot chooses to fire the blast not at him, but at the ground, using it to propel himself into the air faster than Raditz could fly, thus making it possible for the younger son to land a powerful-looking headbutt to the chest, in the exact same spot he kicked Raditz earlier. Stunned both by pain and surprise, Raditz can't help but fold in on himself, with the subsequent loss of focus seeing him join his baby brother and falling back to earth. As they hurtle towards the ground, Kakarot continues to push his bid to beat Raditz, engaging him in a mid-air game of Jankenpo that sees them fiercely blocking each other's scissors attacks with rock and their rocks with paper, each vying for an opening as for a moment it seems like they are dead even. However, even without a scouter, Raditz knows this can't be possible in such a short time, though having his mind in two places at once only evens the playing field more, with Kakarot inevitably landing more blows, before Raditz finally realizes that this too is a bluff, as his little brother's true target is not his body, but his tail, having used his distraction to try and constrict his tail around Raditz's, sapping away his strength in a clever but dirty trick after his own heart. Nonetheless, even if he is proud of his little brother's developing deviousness, Raditz cannot let this slide, calling out for his mom not to be mad at him, since she sanctioned this fight, as he grabs the runt by the shirt of his gi and headbutts him to loosen his grip, simultaneously reversing the tail lock and spinning hard in midair, in order to send Kakarot hurtling towards the ground far faster than they were already falling. However, just as Gine thinks she will need to move in to save Kakarot from a grisly crash, she notices the mischievous glint in Raditz's eye, as it's revealed that what she's looking at is an afterimage, with the real older brother having already moved to catch his baby bro, claiming that the younger Saiyan had somehow gotten lucky and bulldozed into him during their wild flight, resulting in him crashing first and softening the landing for his brother. Innocently, Kakarot asks if this means he won, to which Raditz nods with a wry grin, congratulating the younger boy in his first W, while Goku as a toddler naively accepts the result, cheering at the top of his lungs that he's number one, while to the side, both Gine and Grandpa Gohan give Raditz proud smiles, glad to see both boys maturing and happy. However, all good things must come to an end. Even this time that it once felt so alien with Bardock absent, as today he returns, having completed his quest, setting foot on the mountain and looking around with a feeling of strange nostalgia, partially for the scenery, and partially because ever since his run-in with the Dragon of Earth and peaceful return to the Land of Dreams, he's begun actually feeling the ki of others, kinda like he has a scouter built into his brain, with this being the first time he's actually felt the energy of his family. However, now that he's here, it feels like Kakarot and Raditz are really far from Gohan's house, almost like they're right on top of him. At that moment, Bardock's battle instincts kick in, with him jumping back as a pair of ki blasts soar his way, and detonate in tandem with fairly impressive power, though this is the direction where the powers of his boys are actually coming from, with him being forced to react at the last second to block their combined blow, coming face to face with them for the first time in over a year. Crazy brats. He'd been expecting a hug, maybe a long father-son chat to mark his return, not a damn ambush, but then again, they are his sons, so perhaps he should have seen this coming, but that's where we'll be leaving this story off for right now. That's part 5, and we just got done exploring what it looks like for Bardock to become a good father to his kids, mate to Gine, and person overall. So a part where we explore Raditz some and just show what it looks like for him to be a good big brother or son, and grandkid also felt warranted. Now with Bardock's return, we get to establish a brand new status quo to be torn down eventually with all kinds of wacky hijinks to get up to. Honestly though, I love this setup so much that I'm kinda tempted to bring back my old kinda 0.5 side part content just to do some slice of life stuff. We'll see, but definitely let me know how you'd feel about just some little vignettes of Bardock going fishing with the boys or training with Gine and Grandpa Gohan a bit. Of course, shoutouts to Val and Mr. Negative again, they're still major helps in the visuals of this series. Also a big one to Pickled Dill, they've been a great source of feedback for this story and have also also made sure I got my wording as good as I could on certain things. Aside from them, of course, a shout out to the amazing supporters of the channel. Knuckles OX, Crimson Manifesto, Jelpy, Zach Haji, Pizza15X, Aaron Winters, Normity1998, Shao Pai, Coder SV3, Ronan Charizard, Daniel Smith, Dylan Wolfdog31, Infinite Beast 326, J. Ray, Johnny, Narku, Omar Cousins, Stone Slash Memes and more, Stephen Norton, Taryn, The Shadows, Vegeta What Ifs, Alamancer, B, Lyman Rogers, Omar Muhammad, Aiko, Arcane of the Heart, Tay, Inebriated, John Sullivan, Corporal Atkins, Trent Rouse, Dark Shadows, Pokemon Trainer Cam, River Joy, Elijah Edwards, Mr. Hamtastic, Jesus is King, Havin Onion, Angel Gonzalez, David Spalding, Lil T910, Joseph Lau, Trainer Rad 164, Luca Reynolds, Baron Stormblade, Ono, Chris Macarino, Lily, Simra, Red Violet, DeAndre, Gerald Smith, John Self, Jacob Whitker, Massive Oak Woodtree, Demon Set, True Trade, Dutch McGee 101, Bruce Boswick, Robert Arcegard, Illis Cyclops, Craig Scheiman, Jal Madden, King Music for Real, Ballcore, Zach Eubanks, CrabTuber 4552, NBA Fan, Courtney Hawkins, Orion 101, Christian Kyler, Dominic Wiltz, Jester DeMille and Jimmy the Jester, Cyber Samurai, The Story Buster, One Code Pirate, Ganning 667, Kelstar 159, Dr. Ember, Chris, Novak Daddy, Kieran Lightfoot, Ooga Booga, Cure Skywalker, Andre, Chandler Does What Ifs, Manaki Modilla, J. Miller, Indigo Saturn 64, Vimeo Gunlade, Austin White, Benny Montoya, Scurry Scurry, J. Roboza, and Gallo Magalan. Thanks as always for supporting the channel directly. With that said, take care of yourself and the world around you. And as always, go beyond plus ultra. And I'll see you guys next time.